Hi, my name is Anita.
And I'm Knut, I'm the deck boy on the Mais Uma.
And I'm the captain, and that's not really because I sail very well, but because I guess I speak more languages and are more diplomatic.
And I'm the handy guy, and the sailor, so that works out great. And we just came back to La Gamotte after 6 years circumnavigating the world.
On our beautiful Outremer 45 named Mais Uma.
I grew up on the sea with dinghies, boats, been sailing regattas on larger boats. Never owned a large boat, but I've been crewing on a lot of large boats and in regattas, and also done transports and stuff like that. So I'm basically lived on the sea for a long time.
So my sailing experience was very limited. Before we actually signed up for the boat, we did rent a boat for a week one summer to see that I actually had sea legs. But we had a great time. We did not rent a cat, but it was a great vacation. And then I love to travel. For me, it was when Knut came up with the idea and said it's been on his bucket list since he was, I don't know how many years old. I was thinking, well, it would combine wonderfully with my exploration and my desire to explore the world and the love of traveling.
Well, it was on my bucket list. It has always been a dream since my childhood days, and I've been reading about people who's been doing it and the exploration of it, and the atolls in the Pacific and the uninhabited islands and all these things. That has really been like an inspiration for many years and a dream.
And then basically when we started to talk about how we could, when we decided we wanted to leave work and do something else with our lives, then it was a question of, okay, well, we could of course fly, from place to place, or you can go somewhere, you can rent a car, but then you're forever living in your suitcase. And in a fabulous boat, then you're sailing in your home, and you also meet people in a different way. If you would just fly to places or drive, you would not hook up with people in the same way. And the sailing community, I think, has been a wonderful discovery along the way. So I think we've been debating that, and I think there was a stretch between Easter Island and Pitcairn where there were two
weather systems colliding, basically. So we had there was a southern weather system coming up, and we were sailing on the weather from the north, and then you had the waves colliding in the middle, and that just to get across that belt with these colliding waves was a nightmare.
So I think the forecasting capabilities today are so good, so you can actually normally manage to avoid these type of scenarios.
We will definitely look into having another 45 for a new passage. There had to be maybe some small light modifications, more solar, maybe even more battery. Our boat was really, we got it fitted. For the two of us, it's been a perfect size. The weight is easy. The loads on the sheets and the sails, handling, all that is possible without being strong. And it's a boat you can sail easily single-handed.
Which is also a safety aspect. For me, not having that much experience, I think the platform of the boat's been fabulous. It's always felt extremely safe. When we were sailing from Curaçao down to Colombia, and you have sort of the big waves and the weather systems around, sort of the
shorter waves and the steeper waves.
It just felt fun. We're surfing on huge waves, and then at that time maybe we were up to 90 knots in a surf, but the boat always felt extremely comfortable and safe.
You know that the boat handles it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, so that was interesting. We were prepared for a tough journey. And we had, for the first time ever on Mais Uma, I think, we had extra diesel on board. We had seen that the doldrums were going to be quite wide. We had assumed that maybe we'd have to, use the engine for multiple days in a row. And we were prepared to fight our way against the wind.
The original idea was to head up to the Azores and via the Azores, which is a common route to go. Problem was, since we left fairly early. The weather in the northern hemisphere in the Atlantic can be quite changing. We saw that we could go to via Cape Verde with fairly good tacking angles, a decent wind, and that was 2 weeks that was quite pleasant sailing, going upwind in 6 to 16 knots of wind.
Then when we got to Cape Verde, all of a sudden the wind went from, I think, 2 to 25 in like, sort of 2 minutes, and lots of waves and crap. So even if we had wanted to go into Mandela, it actually would have been a little bit tough. So we ended up hiding behind Saint Quentin, the westernmost island, and then Knut had to go up the mast to check a few things.
Just do a rig check, which is, I think it's a little bit mandatory when you've been tacking for 2 weeks. Just check the overall state of the boat, so you're ready for the next 2 weeks to go to Gibraltar. And then we said we maybe go all the way to the Azores, or we'll see how we can go and find a path that could be as comfortable as can be.
And then as it was progressing, we were also seeing, that maybe we could arrive in La Gramotte for the Outremer Cup. And then we were like, maybe we should kind of give it a go. So then instead of actually trying to stop somewhere, our focus was then more actually on arriving.
And it has been fantastic. It's been a great welcome.
Yes.
It was a good end of 5 weeks at sea.
Oh yes, it's been a fabulous arrival into La Gramotte and then back to Outremer. So that's been so it was in the end it all worked out perfectly. So it was hard work to get here, but it was a great welcome. Yeah. When we woke up, we arrived in here at like 5 o'clock in the morning.
4 or 5 in the morning.
And when we woke up and we saw the pain au chocolat and the baguette and the little welcome home from Mathieu in the cockpit table, we were like, oh! It was really nice. But you know what? I mean, nothing has really broken on the boat. Yeah. So we had no technical issues. There's been no breakages of any kind.
Been just a few questions now and then.
Yeah, we had a trampoline sent over, but that was sent by Outremer. It was sent off to Panama. We got it.
I think in general it's been very hassle-free. Our impression as well with the after-sales department in Outremer has improved a lot since we left.
And I think that's also been the focus of the company also to make sure that after sales is really running smoothly.
And we know from fellow sailors we've been around with that some of the other brands is after sales actually non-existing.
I think so. I think that you see that particularly in these kind of dodgy times when the world maybe seems a little bit not at ease with itself and there's lots of not so great things going on, you find that there is wonderful people everywhere. And most people, everybody is friendly and helpful and proud of where they're from, and they want to show it to you and they want to help if you have any issues. So I think that's been absolutely wonderful.
And the cruiser community is always helping out. If you have an issue and you're shouting at an anchorage, you probably have 5 guys over with the tools and everything ready to help you out.
And I think that's important to say. That goes across the wallet that your boat represents. Everybody has an equal amount of things to bring to the table. Well, there were several, but I think in the spirit of talking about people, I think we were on the hard ones in Trinidad. Knut runs into a German guy. We both speak German, so he runs into a German guy, and on the boat is also a Brazilian flag. And so we started talking, and then we ended up sailing with this German-Brazilian couple. And then when we were going to leave them, they were like, oh, but you guys have to meet this other couple that we know. You're going to love them. And then
and they were on the hard in Curaçao, and we were heading in that direction. So they said, oh, this is their email, this is their phone number. And then we started communicating with them, and we understood, okay, this is interesting. And then we hooked up immediately when we got to Curaçao.
So I think that the people aspect really is a wonderful thing. when you sail. It's also worthy of maybe the flip side of that. I was standing at looking out for, you know, where there would be little bummies, and Knut was steering the boat, and then we end up into this fabulous blue lagoon where we had, you know, the beach all to ourselves, and so
there was nobody there. We stayed there for 3 or 4 days and just had a fantastic time. That's a toughie.
Very hard.
I think there are so many, and they're so different. So you can take, for instance, Parengarenga in the north of New Zealand, where we have the whitest silica sand we ever experienced in our lives. The entrance to Maupiti in French Polynesia was spectacular.
Spectacular.
Going through the Panama Canal.
Yeah,
No, there is so many.
Yes, absolutely. And, you know, and also sailing down the coast of Ecuador, and you sail for hours and hours through this translucent algae, right? That kind of lights up the water.
There is no moon, it's all black, and then suddenly you hit a school of fish and you just see the light just shatters out, and maybe there are dolphins chasing them, and you can actually see the fluorescent light. It's magical. Fuel was probably the easiest part because we're a sailboat. So I think we had the first few years, we maybe maximum 200 hours on the engine a year. If there was no wind, there was no wind, and then you chill out.
Yeah, we had no place to be, so that was
so
okay.
there is no stress, and when there is wind, you know, you don't need much wind on this boat. So from 5-6 knots of wind, you can go places. A lot of the other cats can't do.
So when it comes to the provisioning part, I think we were overly maybe concerned in the beginning. So when we went into the Pacific, for example, we stocked the boat full of stuff from Panama that we had on the boat for like
Ecuador as well.
That I think we had on the boat for like 3 years. And what we figured out in the end was, you know what, people eat everywhere. Yeah. I think that a lot of people think that that's going to be very difficult. But again, it's some places are more bureaucratic than others, so quite easy, and also part of the whole experience, you know. So everybody asks this, right? And on Mais Uma, we have a very non-rigid scheme of night watches.
It's more like we are a team. If we need to do watches, the one that is most awake stays awake, and the other one goes to bed.
And when you're in the middle of the ocean, you know, there really is nobody. There is nobody, and there is nothing. And there is also, if you don't have a full moon, there's nothing to see.
Yeah. Have a conservative sail plan. You have all the alarms on. We normally lower these tables, sleep here at night. You are 2 seconds away from everything. We have repeater of the sharp plotter on the iPad, so we have that towards the bed, so we have full control of it. The alarm is maybe put on an hour and a half, depending on the sea state, the weather, what we expect to see. And now with Predict Winds Pro version, where you can actually get the IS of all the larger boats in a radius of 200 nautical miles around you at all times. It's a huge, fantastic tool to see where are the fishing fleet, where is the highways, where all the big boats go, so you can plan.
And obviously, if you're anywhere close to shore, anywhere close to a lot of traffic, then you're on watch. That goes without saying.
But then it's the one that's most awake is awake. I always sail monohulls, and all my friends that's been racing and sailing World Ocean Race and stuff like that, they're like, no, you're never going to the catamaran world. So we were originally just looking for monohulls, but we wanted a good performance boat, we wanted to be able to sail decently fast, shallow draft, things like these. Just by fluke, we actually came across an Outremer displayed on the Düsseldorf boat show and ended up here at the multi-hull show in La Gamotte. And then things actually started to materialize. So Mais Uma means one more in Portuguese. And we started with one hull, we ended up with 2 hulls, so that was one more hull. But it's also one more friendship, one more passage, one more drink.
One more island.
One more experience, you know, one more, yes to life philosophy. Yeah, we'll see if there's one more.
Yeah, if there's Mais Uma, we will see.
Then we'll see that the future will bring, and now we will do a little bit land-based travel and take care of some stuff in Brazil and see if we can get more sailors to Brazil.
And it's beautiful sailing territory, Brazil, and it's it's quite unknown, and it's a cool country to visit because it's not really a touristy country, so it's great for exploring.
Yeah.